to cover today, and I would, at this point, stop sharing my screen, and then we'll be having Chuck Lang, who is the current president of the Rotary Foundation, taking over for the program today. You ready there, Chuck?
I am.
All right.
And as president of the foundation, I welcome all of you. And obviously, it appears we've got a very fine attendance, 35 plus. So wonderful. I'd like to officially open the Plymouth Rotary Foundation annual meeting, June 19th, 2020, and call this meeting to order. Today's meeting will highlight our annual treasurer's report, our annual investment report, along with our guest speakers, Hunter Hall and Benjamin Craig. And we'll also discuss some of the ongoing projects that the foundation is undergoing. And at the end, towards the end, we'll have the nominations for board members. Before I begin my report, I'd like to introduce our present board members. Bill Weber is our vice president. Dan Amos is our treasurer. And additional board members serving, so I don't miss anyone, is David Bax, Bruce Baxter, Kim Crouch, Danny Hyman, Russ Jones, Cam Miller, and Herman Tiki. I believe most are online here with us today. This year, the board has addressed several financial ongoing concerns that have taken appropriate action to resolve them. We have also taken on the challenge to review and update the foundation bylaws and the processes of committee budgets and grant requests to bring us into the 21st century. A few of our key accomplishments and ongoing efforts. We designed a formal orientation program for new board members. So as a board member comes on to the board, they will receive a formal orientation. We addressed in a very positive manner the working relationship and communications between the club board and the foundation board. I'm very happy with that. And I think Carol is also pleased with that.
Absolutely.
We began to implement a process that all club committee budgets be submitted before we approve any of them to ensure that our limited facts fund and those funds are distributed, meeting the vision and mission of both the club and the foundation. With the increase of the foundation assets, now over $1 million, and you'll hear that report from Tom Adams, we established a committee to address the investment guidelines and policies of the foundation. That effort continues presently and will conclude when the foundation board approves the recommendations. After a significant research effort to understand how our foundation funds were received and designated over the years, the board has formally clarified the various funds on the balance sheet that are restricted and non-restricted and their purpose. As a result, all funds are now appropriately described and approved for future reference. We also established a bylaw committee to review and to update the present bylaws of the foundation, in particular, the election process of board members, along with other clarifications. That committee will present their recommendations within the next few months, which will require both foundation board approval and club member approval. We also established a committee to review and update the grant application process and the report expectations once a grant is issued. We developed a very positive ongoing relationship with the Wilcox Foundation as they consider the possibility of transferring their foundation corpus to us. Last, presently, there are several club committees addressing the community needs as a result of COVID-19. The foundation stands ready to support those efforts the most effective way that we can. With that, I'd like to call upon our treasurer, Dan Amos, who has been serving as our treasurer since July 1 of 2016, 4 years. Dan, we commend you for your service, and I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks. Can everybody hear me?
Dan, before you start, this is Carol. I've just got a request if everybody could please mute their phones and for a better.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can, Dan.
Okay, excellent. Sorry, I can only call in. I'm blocked at the office from Zoom. We use different video conferencing stuff. I'm not sure if it's a competitive decision or whatnot, but anyhow, yeah. So thank you everybody for giving me some time to provide you an update. Currently, the foundation's very healthy financially. As of the end of May, our main assets consist of the following: so $11,000 in our credit union account at Community Financial, just shy of $60,000 in cash at Merrill Lynch, and then our investments at Merrill Lynch are around $1.25 million. Annually, our annual budget calculation, or funds available to spend, shortened form of that is FATS, consists of the following items. So Golf Classic proceeds, barbecue proceeds, box ad proceeds from the barbecue, membership donations, and those consist of Ponzi donations as well as weekly fines, penny box, etc., investment earnings, and then miscellaneous items. This past year, so each year those totals are the actual, we use the actual totals collected for the previous fiscal year's events. So for instance, for 2019, 2020, our fiscal year that started July 1 of 2019, we used the Golf Classic proceeds from May of 2019. Similarly, barbecue proceeds were from the fall of 2018. For those keeping score, because of the bad weather we had for the barbecue in 2018, actually the event that provided the most funds towards our FATS was the Golf Classic for the current fiscal year at 20%. Barbecue proceeds were 16%. Box ads were 9%. Membership donations 12%, and then investment earnings make up the largest portion now, and that's 40%. Due to COVID and the uncertainty with some of our fundraising events late this year and obviously going into next year, it is anticipated we will be operating on a smaller FATS number for the next year or two. This past year, or this current year, I should say, the budget from FATS was $127,000. And as we sit here today, we're around $14,500 under budget. Typically, we spend about 75% of our budget on club committees, including but not limited to various scholarships, youth exchange, interact, and the four-way test. The remaining 25% goes towards grant requests to entities outside of the foundation. This year so far, with outside grant requests, we've been a bit off. We've only spent about 3.5% of our total on grants. And the two grants we have approved and funded this year, United Way for $2,000 and Ghana School Project for $2,500. To put the two grants in perspective, over the last 5 fiscal years, we've funded an average of 11 grants per year, and this year we've only done 2. I'm not sure what that exactly is a function of, whether it's, I know there have been some grant requests that have come in that we've discussed as a board, that we've gone back with additional questions. Not sure if, coronavirus happening in March affected the inflow of those, but we've done significantly less outside grants this year than in years past. Our FATS from investment earnings is calculated based on a 3-year average of earnings in our investment account. This figure is provided annually by Tom Adams, who does an outstanding job managing our money. And that number has actually gone up pretty significantly in the last few years since we received the remainder of the Walter Ponzi trust funds in late 2016, early 2017. From an administrative standpoint, we operate fairly thin. The day-to-day active duties of the treasurer have historically been handled by a foundation board member. Currently, and since I've been treasurer, we've budgeted about $3,500 annually for administrative expenses. The largest admin expenses are our 990 IRS return, which run about $1,000 a year, and then bookkeeping, which runs about $100 a month. The excess funds, so that additional $1,200, $1,300, is used for things like printing, mailings, PO box fees, and somewhat of a rainy day cushion in case unexpected expenses come up. For instance, when we receive the remaining Ponzi funds, because our receipts exceeded a certain threshold, we were required by Michigan laws to have a review completed by a CPA firm. So that cushion provided us the ability to get that done without having to dip into additional funding. In general, we are, as Chuck mentioned, we've cleaned up several things on the balance sheet and on our financials, and we are in good shape as things sit today, and I think to navigate the unclear waters that the coronavirus has presented us.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Dan. Does anyone have any questions about Dan's report? Carol, I can't see everybody, so raise your hand or unmute and ask your question if anyone has any.
This is Carol. I just want to thank Dan for his many years of service in this position. We all know being secretary or treasurer is often the most time-consuming, and just want to give a Facebook applaud for Dan for all the work that he's done on this through the years.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Dan has done an incredible job with integrity and has really maintained our books and our financial position in a very appropriate manner. So also, Dan, from our board and Rotarians, thank you again for your service.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. There was also, just on the sidebar, there was some reallocation of some of the club committee funds to go to the club COVID-19 projects. And Carol, I believe we're at about $8,500 that we have directed that way. Is that correct? I know you got that number better than I do. But so club committee funds were actually moved from the purpose of a potential club committee. For example, the Interact Club moved their funds, the $3,000 that we were going to use for the food, the Plymouth Canton Community Food Project that takes place in May. We always gave $3,000 to that. Instead, we moved it over to COVID-19. All right. Excellent treasurer's report. We're in good hands. Now I'd like to call on Tom Adams, who has managed our investment portfolio for 24 years, since 1996. And quite frankly, we're all very pleased about that performance. So Tom, why don't you give us the latest?
Jim, do you have those slides? Can you go back one? How about one more cover page? Perfect. So, right, I started in 1994, and just a little bit of a backdrop. When I started working with the foundation, I tried to sort of educate them on starting to take a look more about investing the foundation money in equities and stocks, and more directly stock-oriented mutual funds, because that would give us a lot of diversification and maybe avoid some risk by having wide diversification. So that operation started 24 years ago. And since that period of time, our profits have been about $706,000. So it's worked out good to be more widely diversified in other things other than certificates of deposit at Community Federal Credit Union, which they had just continued to roll year after year. And I would say your foundation board has really been great stewards of your money, taking in the donations and all the bequests, Ponzi donation, Walter Ponzi gifts. They've really done a really terrific job of investing the money and listening to recommendations. If you would go down to the asset class summary, third slide, Jim. So this is kind of how the balance is as of the 17th. When I ran this, balance was $1,348,000. We're about even for the year, and that's really remarkable considering the economy is essentially continues to shut down, and it really points to how the stock market is really a leading economic indicator. I saw a headline today that said at Fidelity, 35% of those individuals aged 65 and above sold out of all their stocks during the month of March. Well, that's a tragic thing. And your foundation board has a longer term view, actually an infinite view. And your foundation board that has been guardians of this money have really looked long term and felt like that they wanted the money to last forever and just take out a stipend every single year. So we did not panic. We stayed the course, and we're right back up, and we're about even for the year. If you take a look, why don't we skip on down to, and I would say back on this, this slide, what it really says is right now we're 70% in equities, which are essentially stocks, but those are not individual stocks. We might have done a little bit better if we were in things like Amazon or Google or Facebook, but those are extremely volatile, and we want to be good stewards. So we picked mutual funds for the most part, with just kind of fine-tuning those mutual funds and staying in the best ones possible and upgrading them from time to time. If we take a look at the time-weighted rate of return, which is a few down, this kind of talks about the fact that over the last year and a half, we're up still 21% over the last 18 months, and our profits are $228,000. So that really has weathered the storm a little bit better than our golf outing has, and a little bit better than the barbecue has. Do we have rainouts? Sure, we do have rainouts, but we take money out based on a smoothing calculation, which is earmarked about 4.5% a year. And last time we did the calculation, it was $50,000 approximately, and it'll probably be a little bit more the next time. I would say that that's about it. I would also say that for all those folks that did get concerned about the economy, you know, try not to get too negative. If we take a look at slide, why don't you just click through about 4 more down? 1, 2, 3, 4. One more. Why don't you go to the, let's see, how about 2 more up? Yeah, that one. So if you take a look at the stock market over the last 94 years, there's a lot of recessions that happen and drawdowns, and the United States is a free market society, and we tend to build and grow the economy over the long term. And sure, we have some difficulties along the way, but if you pick good quality investments and stay with the long-term focus, you'll do quite well. And that's really shown here with the foundation money. So we've weathered the storm quite well. There will be bumpy roads ahead with the virus and the economy starting to grow again. But your foundation board has been very good stewards. They've done a terrific job. And I think we'll just continue to stay the course, especially with interest rates so incredibly low. Thank you. And then we'll open it up to Q&A if there are any.
Yes, thank you, Tom. Does anyone have any questions that they'd like to ask? If you do, unmute yourself and ask the question. Yes, you covered it, Tom.
I explained everything perfectly.
There you go. Well, these are challenging times, and it's really grateful for us to hear the good news as to where our portfolio is today. You're certainly doing a great job, and we all appreciate it. So that watchdog approach that you have is paid off very well for us. Now we get into some of our presenters. Dr. Weber, are you still with us? Where are you?
I'm still with you and just unmuted.
Okay. If you would do the pleasure of introducing our first presenter.
You know, I can't think of a better pleasure today than being able to introduce one of our Memorial Scholarship recipients, Hunter Hall. Hunter has exceeded everything that we ever anticipated when he was awarded that scholarship. So on behalf, Hunter, of the Memorial Scholarship Committee and the whole Rotary Board, just let me thank you for the outstanding work that you've done. And there's never been a time, at least in my life, that it's more important than now to have people with your background looking into trying to help this country through some of the problems that we're going to be facing. So let me introduce to you Hunter Hall.
Hi, thank you. And first off, I just want to say thank you to everyone at Rotary. This scholarship really has made a big difference to me while I was at MSU. And I wanted to talk about today kind of how I was able to finish my time at MSU in 3 years and kind of touch on what my plans are for the future. So really, I think the biggest thing that kind of allowed me to finish so quickly at MSU was all the work I put in high school. The IB Academy at the park allowed me to have over 30 credits when I came into MSU. So that was basically a full year that was already done. And then I was originally planning on taking a full 4 years at MSU and getting an additional minor, but I still managed to get a double major in the time I had. And the biggest thing once I got to MSU that really helped me do this was I took a long time like planning my schedule, and every year I was really focused on making sure that if there wasn't a reason for me to take a class, if it wasn't going to help me with my degree or teach me something that I really valued, I didn't take it. And then I made sure I had a good full schedule every semester. So I think that was honestly the biggest thing was I didn't even realize that I was going to graduate this year until at the beginning of last semester. I sat down and I looked at it and I realized that I had planned my schedule out well enough when I first got to MSU, before I even started my freshman year. And I was able to actually just graduate because I already had put in all that work. So I think the biggest thing, and the biggest thing I wish, like, I'm really glad I did, and I think I should like tell everyone starting college is like really think about your schedule when you get there. If you know what you want to get a degree in, it really does make a difference. And then right now I'm currently finishing up on my medical school applications. Hopefully I'll get those out in the next week or so. I'm applying to a few schools around the country, and I'm applying to some MD, PhD programs as well. So hopefully I get into one of those. And in the meantime, I'm kind of taking my own early gap year, basically, and I'm attempting to start a company, doing some genetic engineering work to hopefully be able to get that working and up and running before starting medical school next fall, the fall of 21.
Hunter, thank you. Could you expand a little bit on your endeavor, or would you like to, about your research endeavor?
I can only say so much just because it is like supposed to be secretive, but
Oh, okay.
basically I'm starting it right now. It's just me. It's a little lab that I've built, and I'm basically attempting to use like a renewable, low cost carbon source to be able to engineer these organisms to produce valuable products.
Well, that's wonderful. And fellow Rotarians, it might be a good investment to think about down the road.
Yeah, I'll certainly pitch Rotary, depending on how everything pans out in the next couple months.
Sure. Well, congratulations on your achievements, and you've got quite a vision and an ambition to really strike out and be an entrepreneur. So we wish you the very best. Let's hear
I got a
our
question.
questions for Hunter. Yes, Danny.
Yeah, Danny Hyman here, Hunter. Thanks
Hi.
for the update. I think it's phenomenal that by the time you got to Michigan State, you had basically a year of college under your belt. I mean, I know about advanced placement. I've got a 19-year-old nephew that's a sophomore in college. But does everybody know about that that's in high school? Is that something that everybody has access to? It's just a matter of applying yourself and taking the right classes. But, you know, for both a student and a parent to show up at college and already basically be a sophomore, at least in terms of classes and credits, is pretty incredible.
Yeah, I do think Plymouth Canton does do a good job of promoting their AP program. Definitely the route I took, which was the International Baccalaureate Academy. I personally, if you're trying to get as many credits as possible, that's definitely the way to go. Just because it spreads out basically the classes over your junior and your senior year. So you have enough time to learn the material really well, and you tend to do, you're more likely to like get a good score on the exams. But I do think that at least when I was the second year, so it really wasn't well known when I got into it. We weren't even certified when I started. So I'm sure it's come a long way since then, but it definitely wasn't as well known, certainly, as AP.
Does Plymouth Canton offer opportunities for now old folks like you to go back to the high school and talk to the juniors or sophomores about, hey guys, take advantage of this opportunity? Because it would certainly carry a lot more weight probably coming from you than, let me say, a school administrator.
I would personally love to come and talk about like what worked for me, what didn't work for me, especially in high school, because I know that was something I was very concerned about. And it was often like, it's often difficult to like know who to talk to and what questions to ask. And I do think that would be really helpful if we had more like speakers come and really talk about like their recent experiences after they graduate.
Good. Maybe that's something the school can promote. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions of Hunter?
I have a question
Go ahead, Rich.
about this business. I know you can't say much, but is that something, these organisms, is that something like nanite technology, except instead of mechanical, it's biological?
In a sense, it's not nearly as complex. It's more of your basic like microbiology. That's what I got my degree in, is microbiology. So it's more along your lines of basic bacterial. I'm working with E. coli, so it's your more standard microbiology approach.
All right, interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Well, thank you, Hunter. Incredible vision and ambition, and we're very proud of you. And if you need support down the road, let us know.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, our second presenter, all the way across the pond from Denmark, our foreign exchange student of 2018-2019. There's probably just a few of you that never met Benjamin, but he was our exchange student here and had an incredible experience. The kid never slept. He was out taking advantage of every opportunity that he could think of, and had a list 2.5 miles long about what he wanted to do and what he wanted to accomplish while he was here. And when he stayed with Nancy and I, we often had to remind him to get some sleep. He spent most of his time sleeping in cars and vehicles as he was going from one place to the next. So with all of that, and he was a roommate with Hunter for 3 months. Because the halls also hosted Benjamin. So with that, he's in Denmark, dealing with the same pandemic as we are, and he's in school. And Benjamin, welcome back to Rotary, and tell us what you're up to.
Thank you, Jack. It's indeed true that I really had a remarkable year. I always had something to do, and really just was on the go all the time. But I spoke a lot about that before, right before I left, I was at the meeting, and I talked a lot about my experiences that my year in the States had. And now as time has gone a little bit, and I can tell you some of the more indirect effects that this year has had on me compared to how I talked about the direct effects that the year had on me, like, for example, how my experiences personally affected me before. Now I can talk about how all this experience of the year has affected me in long term, mainly in my personality and the way of thinking. And that's what I'll be talking about in the next couple of minutes. And I also want to say that when Chuck asked me if I could talk with you at this meeting, I thought it was really important to really tell you that this exchange program has meant the world to me, that it did not just stop as the year ended. It really just went, I brought it with me back and have developed so many things from this exchange program in my way of thinking and the way of acting and all those kind of things. But yes, as I said, my journey of development did not end by catching the plane out of Detroit back to Denmark. A much more what I would call a tangled journey of development started as the moment I touched feet here in Denmark. And I would still say that this journey has yet not finished. And I would not exactly call this an existential crisis when I came back, but a lot of the things that are examples of an existential crisis was things I was thinking about. And the things I was thinking was like how my life should be, the values I should have going on, and the purpose I have looking forward. One of the things was when I came home, I was quickly included in my old friend group. But I quickly noticed that something really felt different. I could feel that my new way I wanted my life to be did not exactly fit with the way their life was. And that was kind of odd for me. The first time I was experiencing how I had changed compared to how they didn't really change. I hope you understand what I mean. And I could feel in myself that I did not exactly like their values anymore. And that was something for the first time I was having difficult time accepting. And in this specific situation, I could feel how I had changed. And at the same time I felt how I had changed, I also felt that they were talking to me as I had not changed. And that was pretty difficult for me. And the episode with my friends, this specific episode, led to me reevaluating the position I wanted to be in the perspective of my friends. And I slowly started to care less and less about things that I normally liked and cared about, and cared more about things that I really meant a lot to me now, that I feel is way more important after maturing so much throughout a year, being on my own. And that was a pretty big shift in my personality. And if you ask my friends that I had prior to this exchange year, they can really feel how I have changed. But my new personality also led to reevaluating and changing some of my friends in my friends group, because I just felt like the difference was too big. And today I would say my friends group has changed like 50% of the people. And I actually feel really good about that, because the friends I got now are really good to me. And I surround myself only with people that really matter and show a huge interest in me, and reverse, of course. And are more like me. If it was not because this maturing process during my exchange year, I would not have had those values to the same extent to pick out my friends in a more wise manner. And that's something I really appreciate now, and I benefit a lot from now. Besides a change in my personality and values, the last but not least change I have made, which I think is the most important one actually, is solely a result of my exchange years, my new mentality I have about my life. During my exchange year, I was fortunate to have so many great and unforgettable experiences. Chuck talked a little bit about, I had a 2.5 mile long list with things that I wanted to do and things I actually got to do with so many beautiful people. And that has contributed to a constant flow of inspiration and admirability. And the inspiration that I've gotten from so many great individuals has made me hungry for the future. It has made me hungry for a life where everything is possible, where I would be able to do exactly the same to others as these people did to me, and show me all these amazing things, and have time to sit down and talk with and learn somebody new to know and show them the world. And this mentality achieves something that I want in the pursuit of being able to give back to others, as I have been so fortunate to get as my drive every day, would not have come without this exchange program. And I want you to understand that this drive is not just going away overnight. This is really embedded in my mind and something I think about often. And I think I'll have this for the rest of my life. And this would not have been the same without this exchange program. And that's why I appreciate this opportunity so much to have gotten to go on exchange, and why this exchange program is pretty much life lasting. That's pretty much a quick touchdown. I said earlier at another meeting that I would try to make it over to the States this summer, but unfortunately that has not been possible due to the circumstances. But I hope I can make it the next year again.
Well, we'll look forward to that, Benjamin. You and your family coming. Does anyone have any questions of Benjamin? Is everybody still social distancing, Benjamin, in Denmark?
Well, if I talk about last week, I wouldn't exactly say we've been social distancing, but our precautions are not so big anymore. This past week, I've been on vacation with 15 of my friends in quite a small house, so I wouldn't say the 6 feet are lasting, but it was all right.
Benjamin,
Carol.
I was Benjamin Carroll here. I was wondering, where are you at in your education, formal education process? We heard a lot about your informal education process.
Yes, my formal education process, I'm going to a business school currently. We have a little bit different school systems as you, so I can't just say I'm in high school or college, but I'm something in between currently. And I still got 2 years back to finish up that school. This was like my first year I just finished. And then I'll be moving to another school. But currently I'm still staying home, and my school is only 5 miles away from my house.
Bill, did you have a question?
Well, I just wanted to flat my mouth, and I probably should keep quiet, but you just can't help but think about an old Rotarian that said some very wise words a few years back. And when we see these two young men talking, we know why we cook all them damn chickens.
There you go.
And I also wanted to tell Ben that, Ben is an exceptional person, exceptional man. And he would have done this without us. We are all very grateful that he was able to share some time with us to get to this spot. So congratulations both to Hunter and to Ben. And again, I think that's why we cook all them damn chickens.
I appreciate your kind words, Bill. I really do.
I want to say something.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yes, go ahead, Michelle.
I didn't know Ben was going to be on today, and between having Hunter on and Benjamin on, I'm sitting here. I'm glad I had it. My video wasn't showing us bawling. Benjamin, you made me cry. I cannot tell you how proud I am of you. And you are so wise. You just turned 18, and you have wisdom beyond most people double your age. And I'm just you're an extraordinary human being and very kind. I guess if I had to take one word, Benjamin, to describe you, it would be kind. And that's all. A second mom. I'm not your mom, but I'm your second mom, and I couldn't be more proud of you. And Hunter, I'm just bawling. We're both my boys today, so this was a pretty special day for me. So thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Well, it is a special day, and I would also like to just make sure the members know that Benjamin has made 2 $100 gifts to the Ponzi Fund, our Rotary Ponzi Fund, with the goal of, over time, of achieving the $1,000 plaque level goal. He is also a Paul Harris Fellow. So we're proud of both of you guys. And you can see our foundation dollars at work, as Bill said, those damn chickens and everything else we do. This is just 2 really fine examples of our dollars at work. So congratulations, guys, and we wish you the very best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before I move the meeting over to Kim, our nominations chair, are there any questions? Does anyone have any questions about anything regarding the foundation that you have had on your mind or need some clarification, unmute your mic and ask the question if you have one. And if we don't, we'll move on. Okay, I don't hear any questions, so let me introduce Kim Crouch, who is serving as our nominations chair this year. And Kim, I'll turn it over to you to move forward.
Sure, absolutely. As you guys have just heard, I'm Kim Crouch, and I'm serving as your nominating chair for the election process for board members for the foundation board. I want to thank the foundation board for, in general, for selecting me as the nominating chair. My other committee members are Rush Jones and Herman Tiki. There are 4 positions open for election. There are 3 incumbent positions that that are open, and they'll be running for re-election. And then 1 open position that is open from Dan Amos, who has fulfilled his maximum term, and so that creates the 4th opening. At this time, I would like to open up the floor for individuals to run for board of directors for the foundation board, but I want to start off and make it easy for you guys by letting the nominating committee would like to start off by nominating the following individuals. I will just ask in general if people are present. If people are present at the meeting and their names are called, if they'll just let us know if they accept or not, that'll be good. So I would like to start off with the nominating committee list of people that they would like to nominate. First, Chuck Lang.
Accept.
Okay, David Batts. Bill Weber.
Accept.
Okay, Don Suman. Michelle Hall.
Accept. Thank you.
Yep. Diane Harrison. Tim Joy.
I think Tim had to go into the medical room with his employee.
Nope, no problem.
Yeah.
Okay. At this time, I would like to ask if there are any other nominations from the floor. If so, just kind of unmute your mic if you'd like to nominate anyone. Go ahead.
I haven't talked to Ed Schultz, but I'd like to nominate Ed Schultz for the foundation board, please.
Okay.
Kim, this is Danny. I just want to understand, when you nominated Chuck Lang, was that because, Chuck, is that because your term is up and you're being nominated for a second term, because you're obviously already on the board? Just my understanding.
Yes.
Go ahead, Kim.
Okay.
Yes. I was going to say that's actually a good question. Thanks for raising it. So there are 3 folks. The first 3 folks that I nominated are incumbents. That's Chuck Lang, David Batts, and Bill Weber. And this is their second term.
Okay, thanks.
No, thank you. I don't know if Ed Schultz is president, but if not, I have him. Any other nominations from the floor? Okay. If there are no other nominations, then I will close and turn it back over to you, Chuck.
All right. Well, thank you, Kim. Unusual situation this year with our Zoom video and everything else, but the nominating committee will now review and just be certain that everyone that's been nominated is on board. The ballots will be mailed out on June 29th to the same address, except for those that have indicated to change their address for the mailing. But it'll go to the same address that you received your annual meeting notice on. So the only two address changes that we've received is one from Bill Ventola and one from Tom Adams. If there's anybody else out there that needs something to be addressed, please let us know. When
Hey,
you
Chuck,
do, yes?
Chuck, it's Danny. Is there still a plan to get the ballots and the envelopes and all that distributed this? I think
Yes.
you and I talked about that. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Now, I would encourage everyone, when, the question?
This is June. I have a question. Will the ballot indicate who the 3 incumbent candidates are?
Yes, it will.
Thank you.
Okay. I will encourage everyone, when you do get your ballots, to act as swiftly as you can and get back in the mail. The mails have been slow, so we want to make sure we get them all accounted for. In closing, I'd like to once again thank our foundation board members for their outstanding leadership and dedication that they've had this year. I also hope you enjoyed our program today and maybe gained a little better information about the foundation, how it operates, and what our assets are. Everything that we talked about, the investment report, the treasurer's report, my own report, will be included in the broadcaster when it comes out with this meeting. So with that, Carol, I'm going to officially close the annual meeting of the Plymouth Rotary Foundation. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck. And on behalf of the club board and myself, I want to thank you and your great foundation team for all the hard work you've done this year and the impact you have on our community locally and nationally and internationally, as evidenced today. It's been a pleasure working with you personally, Chuck, over the last year and getting to know you a little bit better, and look forward to continuing that friendship personally.
Likewise.
We are having our next meeting next week on the 26th, and that is our changeover meeting, which is where the changeover of leadership, club leadership, takes place on the club. So President-elect John will be taking over the gavel next week, virtually probably. So Kurt Cohen, former club president, will be the MC that day to help facilitate that process. The following week is 4th of July week, and there will be no club meeting then. But you'll hear next week updates on what future club meetings are. So please all enjoy this beautiful weekend and have a safe and just a nice time together with your family and friends. Thanks. Have a good weekend. Yes.
Carol, Kirk here. I think last week we discussed, and I don't think Mike Muma received any ballots for the board of directors. And I just wondered, is there any plan to be able to pick up ballots or resend them? The mail out here has been extremely horrible, just so you know.
Okay, that was Kurt Cohen and Mike Muma. Has anybody else not received their club? You're talking about the club ballots, right?
Yes.
Anybody else? Bill Dantola in the far north. Do we have your address, Bill?
Well, Chuck, yeah, no, but they're supposed to be forwarding my mail from Plymouth, but it seems to take days, hours, months, years, and so I haven't got my ballot yet, but I'm watching in the mail for it. I hope it comes. I don't know what to do if it doesn't.
All right, anybody else?
Hey, Carol,
I've
this is
done.
Mike Muma. I still haven't gotten mine either.
Okay, Mike Muma, Kurt Cohen, Bill Vantola,
Tom Adams.
Tom Adams. And those of you that, other than Bill, which is in a different situation up north, those of you that didn't receive it, you do have access to your work office where it may have been mailed to? Does anybody not?
This is Mike and I do.
You do, yeah, okay. Okay, trying to figure out, okay, all right, if anybody else is aware, let me know. I'll talk to Marie and see, I don't know exactly what the plan would be right at this moment, but let me talk with Marie and see how we can move forward on that.
Carol, can I email you after the meeting my address up here?
Yes, please do.
Okay.
All right, anybody else? All right, well, have a good week, everybody.